My name is Kechi Okwuchi and I survived a plane crash. I sustained third-degree burns over 65% of my body. All those people that died, and I just felt so heavy. So I made a decision while in that hospital bed that I would spend my life living as fully as possible. That was the best way for me to keep the memories of those that passed away alive. My burn scars do not define me. They are definitely a big part of me, but they're not everything. Life before the accident was a lot of fun. I grew up in Nigeria, which is my home country, and I spent my first 16 years there. When I started high school, which was a boarding school, I made a lot of friends there that have become lifelong friends. I was a really good-looking teenager and I was aware of it, so obviously I had a lot of confidence from that. I was traveling home for the Christmas holidays with 60 other students from my high school in Abuja, Nigeria.
I was at the airport and with the other parents. It wasn't a new thing. This is what we always did. We wait at the airport for the kids to come in.
Once the descent started, that was when everything kind of started to get crazy. It started with just a few bumps here and there and just some turbulence, but then eventually it became very extreme and people started to freak out, and that was when we realized that something was wrong. I remember there was a lot of screaming and chaos. I never got a chance to feel anything further than that shock. Before I knew it, there was this loud metal scraping sound, and that's literally the last thing I remember before I blacked out.
About 20 minutes past the time the plane was supposed to land, we hadn't heard anything. And after some time, there was so much activity all over the airport, and we kind of all had the inkling that something was seriously wrong. And then the word came that the plane had crashed. When I first saw Kechi in the hospital, first of all, I was very thankful that she was alive, because at that time we had heard that everybody had died from the crash. So my first feeling was gratitude. I was just so grateful to God that she was alive.
I was kept in the South African hospital in Johannesburg for 7 months. I sustained third-degree burns over 65% of my body, which means everything from my scalp to my toes burned except for my torso. So my tummy, my back, these are the areas they took skin from to cover up the major areas of my body that burned. I learned the truth about how many people survived the accident 4 months into my treatment. I was so confused because up until that moment, I had assumed that everyone was okay. It's like, I'm never gonna see my friends again that were in that plane. I realized the last time I saw them was the last time, period. And that shook me to the core. All my friends were gone, all those people that died, and I remember I cried for days. I cried for so long. My family moved to Houston in 2007 primarily because of the level of reconstructive surgery that I would have access to here in America alone. I have had over 100 and maybe 20 surgeries and reconstructions over the years. I remember the first time that I asked my mom to show me my reflection after the accident. I was curious about how I now looked because I knew it would be different. Before the accident, my looks were everything. I thought my looks were the reason why I was so confident. Well, she raised up the mirror to my face, and I remember just looking, and I could see everything, first of all, was so pink. Like, I had no skin on my face, so there was just raw flesh. I could still see some things that were familiar, like my eyes, my nose, my lips. There were certain things about my features that were there that just kind of gave me this familiar feeling that I was looking at Kechi still. That was the moment that I realized that my scars do not define me. That was the moment that I understood that whatever made me Kechi obviously went way, way beyond my physical looks. They're a big part of my identity, but they're not everything. So I made a decision while in that hospital bed that I would spend my life living as fully as possible That was the best way for me to keep the memories of those that passed away alive. It was the best way to make them proud. And more importantly, it was the best way to make those they left behind proud. I first started singing as a child. I was singing in my church children's choir, but I only started seriously singing after the accident. And this is because my voice actually changed significantly. I don't know why or how, but I will never forget when I first sang after the accident and my mom just like whipped her head around like, what was that? And we both noticed like something was different.
She has never had voice training because when she was growing up, we never thought her voice was going to be this good. So it wasn't something to say, oh, Kechi's voice is really good, let's get her a voice coach. No, it was just like a little girl that liked to sing. But after her voice changed after the accident, it was incredible.
Amazing grace, how sweet the sound. It was nice as a hobby. I felt like I entertained friends and family with it, with my singing, but did I think I was good enough to like go on a music show or become an artist, like pursue music as a career? No. What are the chances of me trying to get into this field looking the way that I do, which is so different?
I mean, her father was always on her, go do something with this voice. You have to do something with this voice. You have to go on this show, go on that show. Kechi wouldn't do a thing until her friend signed her up for AGT.
America's Got Talent was an incredible chapter in my life. I ended up on the show because one of my best friends signed me up without telling me. That's how I ended up on America's Got Talent. But the show did a great job within those 3 months to teach me so much. Now that I've had all this experience traveling and speaking in so many different places to so many different kinds of audiences, I meet people and I know that we are in a world that needs more of that kind of message where people realize that their scars, invisible or visible, do not define them. Their trauma doesn't define them. My burn scars do not define me. They are definitely a big part of me, a big part of my story and my identity, but they're not everything. And in my experience, when you're real recognizes real. And I choose to define by my own standards of beauty. And you should too.